G'day, it's Lindsay Waddington. Today I'm very excited to have one of my great mates, Australia's most recorded songwriter, if not the world. We're going to talk about his new album, Really Long Goodbye. Good to have you here, Kaz.
G'day, mate. How you doing?
I'm really good. This is exciting.
Yeah, it is for me.
Yeah, my word.
It is for you too, because you produced it and co-wrote most of the songs. You know?
Oh, well, yeah, that is special. But I've got to tell you though, mate, it is so exciting to see, like, you've got nothing more to achieve. In Australia, you've won every award you can, every accolade. You've achieved so much, but you're still excited about the music.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm doing it because I love it, and probably love it more now than I've ever done.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've got nothing left to prove. But you still have little bucket list things that you go for, you know. And this album, well, it's been a labour of love for about 2 years. We've been working towards it, you know. But there've been a whole bunch of songs released off the album because we were putting them out as quick as we finished them, you know, because we were excited about it, you know. And since I announced my Really Long Goodbye tour, I'm getting more gigs than ever, so, you know.
Should have done it 10 years ago.
Well, it's going to be a really long goodbye tour at this point.
Forever and ever, amen. Where you gonna find a song like that? You may want it, but you won't get the 80s back.
It's fantastic. Why don't we get straight into it, mate? I have to say I'm very proud to have this one through our studio, but let's get to track one, Won't Get the 80s Back.
Yeah, well, we released this as a single and it created a bit of a stir because people thought I was bagging the new country music, and it kind of, I guess in some ways is a bit critical of what's happening now, but really it's for me, the 80s was the golden era for country music. That's when all my heroes were still alive and still playing. That's when my career started, you know. And I won my first golden guitar in 1980. And it's more or less a homage to, you know, to the 80s, you know, where I started and where my career began.
Where your heart is sort of.
Yeah, where my heart is. Definitely where my heart is. Yeah.
Fantastic. It did well all around the world, this song, and that's probably why, because there's a lot more people in country music still got that vibe.
Yeah, and I think there's also, among country music fans, there's a lot of people in my age group, you know, that remember that stuff and still love it, you know.
But I know I'd miss the mornings, the silence and the calm, earning $10,000 on $1 million farm.
We'll skip along to track 2, $1 Million Farm.
Yeah, look, this is one of my favourite songs that I've ever been associated with. You know, I wrote it with you and Manfred Villas, and it made the final of the Golden Guitars for Bush Ballad. And I think, you know, I love bush ballads. Yeah. You know, like it's people have sort of said, why are you doing bush ballads, or why aren't you only doing bush ballads? You know, it's like it seems like you've got to do one or the other. But there's two forms of music that I love, and I love them for the same reason: bluegrass and bush ballads. And the thing is, you've got nowhere to hide. You can't fake them. You know, it's like they've got to be played on real instruments with real musicians playing them. The stories have got to be great. The songs have got to be quality, because you can't hide anywhere. You can't put lots of effects and things on it to sweeten it. It comes from the song. If the song's not great, you got nothing.
You can't hide behind anything.
And you know, I think $1 Million Farm, I was playing it at the weekend, and a bloke came up to me and said, that's my song. He said, you know, he's a farmer, went through the floods in Lismore, and his farm got decimated, and he said when he listened to that song, he really felt every word of it, because it felt like it was about him. You know, and that's what you try and do when you're writing, particularly bush ballads, you know, because they've got to be real.
I saw him tear up one time when he heard Aretha sing. I guess there's times we all believe in something.
We've got track 3, Believe in Something.
Yeah, now this is one of those songs where, like, I came in Watto's got this instrumental, or he's got this tune that he's already written. He's already got the tracks down, and then I come and just write a lyric all over it and turn it into a song. But I love this song because like there's a lot of stories on the album, and some of them are autobiographical, some of them are factual. This one's total fiction, but I created a character that was probably based on a whole bunch of people I'd met over the years, and it's like a method acting thing where you become that character, or you're describing that character and you just invent the story as you go. When we write those songs, I don't want to know how they end until we get there. You know what I mean? Just let the song drive it and tell me where it wants to go, you know.
That's fantastic.
And the fact that it was a great tune to start with really helps.
We're talking Allan Caswell's latest album. Now, Kaz, this album's on all good streaming services, and they can buy it off you on USB.
Yeah.
So, and I reckon you need to do that too, because there's something about getting an album and listening from track there to there, because there's always some sleepers on there. So,
I mean, I think that's the problem with streaming. You know, it's become a singles thing, and a song like Believe in Something is not the kind of song you send out to radio to be a single. It's the kind of song that you want people to hear as part of the album.
Yeah.
And I think that's why
it's a journey.
That's why I'm still making albums, because of that. I mean, this might be my last album because it's really long goodbye, but if it is, I wanted to make sure that every track on it, had a valid reason for being on the album.
Yeah.
You really weren't much older than we were way back then. You challenged us, encouraged us, and helped the dreams to grow. You lit the road we started on all those years ago.
We've got track 4, All Those Years Ago.
Yeah, this is a true story. This is a song I wrote with Marion. She went to a school reunion. It was held in Newcastle, but it was because a lot of people had moved. She went to Blaney High School, and they had a school reunion. For maybe a 50-year reunion or something, and they all came up from various parts of New South Wales, including their teacher, John, who was just straight out of Teachers College when he taught them, like all those years ago. And they were amazed that he came, But it wasn't so much that there's a line that said, "It's not that we remember you; it's that you remember us." They couldn't believe that he showed up, and he retired soon afterwards. He was teaching well into his 70s, and they had a farewell for him in the gym of the school that he was teaching at, and hundreds of people turned up. And as he walked out, he was shaking hands with people. They played the song.
Oh, wow.
Like
special.
Our record, yeah.
Yeah, wow.
They had it on a loop, so because it was a long walk, he had a lot of hands to shake. But yeah, it's a true story, and it's John Clarke's story. It's how, and the reason I think we had it as a single, and people liked it because they all had that one teacher that they looked up to that changed, or a football coach, or someone who changed their life by just showing them the ropes.
Yep.
In fact, that's what works for me. I'm running workshops so I can teach young songwriters.
Just sometimes it takes someone to show an interest in what you like and how you want to do it, and that just gives them the level to get up there.
Yeah, definitely.
When a photograph is all I have to keep your memory, the road has always been a friend to me.
Oh, this is one of my favourites, number 5, A Friend to Me. This is a great song.
Yeah, well, it was a great song before I wrote lyrics on it. It's gonna be an instrumental, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's one of those things. I mean, I guess, we have our favourite artists, and among a lot of artists, it was like I think when we started, it was, this sounds like a George Strait song. Let's write it for George, that kind of thing. Well, we didn't get it to George, but I recorded it, So. But yeah, it's kind of, I want, when people listen to my albums, I want them to, whatever track they're listening to, I want it to sound like country music.
Yeah. And
that's a big range, because it's everything from bluegrass to bush ballads, and and drinking lots of drinking songs, and life songs, and that's what I like about this thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a road song.
It is. And we're here talking to Allan Caswell, the legend, and this is his new album, The Really Long Goodbye. Really Long Goodbye, the album. It's his new one. I'm really loving this whole album because we're crossing over lots of genres of traditional country music, like of good country music. And so there's a journey for everybody. If you like a bit of this and a bit of that, it's all there in the writing.
Supreme Pizza, but it's like a country music Supreme Pizza. That's the plan.
I can't keep from dreaming, so I won't even try. I'll just get these old wheels turning for a really long goodbye.
Well, we're going to get to this one, and I'll probably spend a little bit of time setting this one up. Like number 6 is Really Long Goodbye. Now this song, it saw you be recognised as having 1,000 cuts of your songs, recordings of your songs. How did that make you feel? The title track, Really Long Goodbye.
In some ways relieved, you know, because we've been watching it since 900, getting closer and closer.
You couldn't have dreamt that though, Kaz, when you wrote your first song, thought one day I'm going to have 1,000 people professionally record my songs.
Well, On the Inside was like the second song I ever had recorded. The first one was on an album that sold about 50 copies, you know, and that all happened really quick, and suddenly I had a hit song, and it just rolled from there. But I can't believe we got to 1,000. You know how many songs you have to write to get 1,000 cuts?
Oh.
About 3,000 or something?
Yeah.
You know, something like that. I don't know how many songs I've written. People ask me that all the time.
It's probably more, mate, because talking to you and getting to know you a lot over the last half a dozen years, you're forever writing songs, and then you're forever saying, oh, here's a song I wrote with big name artists, and go, oh, wow, I found it in a drawer. And then I rang them and they said, no, we didn't record it. And it's like, so there's a lot of songs in drawers.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the closest I get to getting a Don Williams cut, it was on hold and didn't get recorded, and I finished up doing it myself. Yeah, I think, and it's a bit like that. I mean, songs just appear. I just recorded a duet with my friend Susanna that we wrote 19 years ago, and it's out on her album. We did it as a duet, you know. And I remembered writing with her, but I didn't remember the song clearly. And she was doing her album, so there's a couple of songs that we wrote back 20 years ago, nearly, you know.
Yeah.
And I've had times when people have come up and requested a song, and I'd say, "Who's that band?" They said, "You." And I go, "Oh, sorry." It is like that, you know. You just and one of the reasons why I like co-writing, there's several reasons I like co-writing, but one of them is that lyrically, I can go anywhere I want, but musically, I'm always scared that I'll be stepping on a tune I've already written. That's why I wrote a lot with you, is because that way I can switch off and be Hal David, not Burt Bacharach, and just focus on the lyrics, which is where I'm strongest anyway. Yeah.
Well, I got to say, mate, congratulations. Well, I know we're only halfway through the album, not quite yet, but that is an amazing thing. So
I just want to say something about that song. Because we, you know, you know the story, but this is for everybody else. We always planned to have a title track called Really Long Goodbye, and then you rang me and said, I've just written a tune for Really Long Goodbye. It'll make you cry, and it did, you know. But when I was writing a lyric for it, it was kind of, because the tracks were already done, it was kind of a real trick song to write, because it starts off with a verse, then a chorus, then a solo, then a chorus, then a verse, and it's like alien to anything I would normally write, and yet it worked. And then we had a tune. Do you remember we had a tune originally for me to sing for the verses, and we, in the end, we decided that I'd just do it as a spoken word thing, because it was me telling my story.
Had more punch, I thought.
I think so.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Well, you know, a lot of people have commented on that, the fact that it sounds believable, it sounds like I'm just talking to them, you know.
Yeah.
And songs can do that. You know, I've always felt that if a song lyric, if it's working, you could read it and it still sounds like you're singing. You know, it's just one of those things. It's the structure of it.
I got to say, mate, it's very special for me. Like, we're spending a bit of time on this because this is the 1,000 recording of your songs.
And you wrote it with me.
It is, but you can't dream this stuff even for me, like as a kid. Like I can remember, I've said this so many times in interviews, I've recorded on the inside 2 or 3 times on instrumental albums. I love it that much. But as a kid on the farm floor, you'd watch Prisoner just to watch Lynn, hear her sing the theme song because I love the song that much. But then it's weird how you think later on that if somebody would have said to me as a kid, oh, one day, you'll co-write or write the tune to that bloke's 1000 recording, you'd be like, yeah. It's weird how life is.
Yeah. And it's unpredictable. I mean, look, it was a huge accident I got to write on the inside in the first place. Well, not an accident. I had a good publisher.
Wish I could have a bloody accident like that.
Yeah, I know. I wrote it in 45 minutes. It was the most lucrative 45 minutes of my life. It changed my life,
Oh, absolutely.
And all those years later, Lynn and I are still good friends, and I still love listening to her sing that song.
She's a lovely lady. Yeah. Anyway, so that's 1,000 recordings for Allan Caswell. Well done, mate. That's
Thanks,
really good.
You're right behind the crazy things I do, and I do the same for you. I say I love you and it's true. Honey, all I need is you.
We'll get on to number 7. Honey, all I need is you.
Well, this was Kaz and Watto trying to get some brownie points with our wives, really.
Did it work for you?
Yeah, well, it did, because this has kind of got that real sort of Tex-Mex sound about it, which is another form of country music that I love.
The drum guitar player.
Marion and I, our favourite band are the Mavericks, right? And we just love the Mavericks. So when you came up with the tune for it, here's my new instrumental. It's kind of a Mexican thing, so I sat down and destroyed it being an instrumental. But we just wrote songs about it.
What about Laurie's drunk gutar playing on the...
Who
was that? Laurie Benson?
I like everything about that song. And we just basically went over it was totally self-indulgent, right? just writing all the nice things we could think of about our wives,
Yeah. Love it.
He gets his music from it and everything he needs to know. The cricket and the country hour and some late night talkback show. He doesn't trust the internet, but he loves his radio.
Right, now we go to track 8. He loves his radio.
Yeah, another bush ballad, and another one we wrote with Manfred. It's there again. We just created this character. I can see this guy. It's like I've met him. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of them. So.
And the National Panasonic radio is interesting because we bought one on the way out. I think it was in Port Said in Egypt. We bought a National Panasonic radio. They don't make them anymore, but we all had them. They're in a leather case, transistor radio, and I think it had shortwave too on it. But everybody had one of these transistor radios, and they'd be out in the shed doing work with the radio going, and I can remember all that stuff. So I just invented this old farmer, and we created a story, and you were there. I mean,
it's great.
And we'd just bounce. Yeah, he would probably do this, and he would probably do that, and it became. It's like, all story songs. They don't have to be true.
No.
Or if they're true, sometimes you have to change the ending because real life wasn't that interesting.
Yeah.
And you change the ending to make them more interesting.
Well, sometimes the truth, as you've always said, just triggers the ultimate story.
Yeah. I think it's, they could talk about country being 3 chords and the truth, although I've always preferred 4 because I like the minor.
Yeah.
But the truth's an interesting thing. It can either be the truth, or my version of the truth, or it can be total fiction, but it's got to sound like it's the truth.
Yeah, it's good, yeah.
That's the thing. It's got to make people feel something.
But generally when it's your truth, I've always found in the last half a dozen years co-writing a lot with you, people come up and say that's their truth.
Yeah, oh yeah.
So you're channeling somebody else's story. You're relating to a lot of people, even though it's...
Well, it's like the same with $1 Million Farm. I mean, anyone that's been a farmer knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And that ratio of... earning $10,000 on $1 million farm. If you've got a $3 million farm, you're earning 30 grand. It's still not a lot of money.
No, exactly right.
We can make you feel it all in any
We're here talking today with my good friend and one of our greatest songwriters ever, and I would say in the world he is a genius. And we're talking about his latest album, Really Long Goodbye. And I tell you, get onto it, download it, ring up, get a USB. There's some wonderful posters, limited editions. There's a lot of great merch attached to this. And like we said, it's got the 1000th recording of Allan's works, which is incredible. So it's a bit of a journey over the years, and it's also a souvenir pack, so I'd get onto it. We're going to get to track 9 now, Swing the Blues.
Yeah, well, I love this song. This was an early song for the album, and it probably, had we done a 4th Lynchburg album, would have been a Lynchburg song. You know,
Yeah.
It was written for to be a Lynchburg song, but we'd already done the 3 albums we intended to do. But I didn't want to let go of this one. It's cool.
Yeah, it's really cool.
And it's there again. It's another kind of country music. It's that honky tonk shuffle barroom swing thing.
And the musos went right there, and it's exactly what it should be.
And of course, you know, like LWM, we only have the best musicians. You know?
We are very blessed.
Yeah.
There we are.
So when it needs fiddle, let's get Huey. It needs steel, let's get Michelle, or let's get Laurie, or
both. Fight it out.
You know, I mean, all my heroes are playing on this record.
Yeah.
Try to make how much you earn a little more than what you spend. Not succeeding isn't failure, you just find a better way. There's things I should have told you, so I'm telling you today.
We're going to get to track 10. This is one of my favourite songs. This is a cracking song. Things I Should Have Told You.
Yeah, this is live. This is my favourite song to do live because it kills it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a roller coaster. It's sort of like starts off, everybody's really sad, and by the end of it, they're cacking themselves, you know. And that's really the trick. I wrote it with Marion, and we call it our IKEA song.
We should say Marion's your lovely wife.
Yeah. We call it our IKEA song. Marion came in with a whole bunch of lines and ideas and said, "Here, genius, fix this one up." You know, I said, "What am I, an Allan key?" And she said, "Yes." You know. So, but the idea of the song is it's a song that's the letter that the lawyer reads to the kids before he reads the will.
Yeah.
It sounds like a real crowd pleaser, that one, but I just love the way it's structured. And we kept it really simple when we recorded
fantastic.
it. I even played guitar myself on that one, you know.
Yeah, you know, you did. I think it's one of the highlights of the album, and it's a highlight of your show. It's really good.
I won't do a show and not do that song.
No, I get it.
There's 2 songs I can't not do, that one and On the Inside.
I get it.
My broken heart is beating to the rhythm of the rails. I'm really good at leaving, and as each new romance fails, she told me it was over. She said I was to blame. When it goes bad, I can always ride a train.
Track 11, Always Ride a Train.
Well, this is a collaboration with my friend Lindsay Waddington. It was like, let's do a bluegrass record.
Yeah.
You know, and I've always loved bluegrass for the reasons I said before. It's all about everything's got to work because you got nowhere to hide. You can't.
It's fantastic.
It had to be a great song. You have to get the best players playing on it, and we did.
Yeah.
Those guys are just phenomenal. But the whole point of if you're going to do a bluegrass song, it's got to be authentically bluegrass.
Yeah.
You can't add keyboards or drums or electric guitars or anything. It's an acoustic form of music.
Yeah.
And it's got traditional forms that you play. I mean, it's based on really old music, but bluegrass really started in 1947. The same year rock and roll started. So, but there's rules that you have to stick with if you're going to write something like this and record something like this. And I think my producer's a real stickler for that, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
You know?
I must admit, that's one thing I'm very proud of with this album. Every song is genre specific with the instrumentation and all that. There's no piss takes. It's really, we've worked hard to try and make every song, okay, it's a honky-tonk song, let's make it honky-tonk. It's bluegrass, let's make it bluegrass.
Yeah.
Bush ballad, go on and on and on.
But it's still got to sound like an Allan Caswell record. But I love that Supreme Pizza thing because it's like all these flavours and you put them all on, but it still tastes good because the flavours all go with each other,
Yeah.
But it's still country music.
Yeah.
It's not country anything, it's country music.
Country music, yeah.
times when you can't sleep at night, I hold you in my arms and we talk about the day we sold the farm.
And then we've got here, track 12, The Day We Sold the Farm.
Yeah, look, this song really, you know, it really gets to me when I listen to it. It's fiction,
Yeah.
but it's a story about that's happening all over the world.
Everywhere.
You know, farming families that basically can't survive.
Yeah.
And they have to sell.
Yep.
It's kind of the opposite to $1 Million Farm, where that $1 Million Farm, that guy's not going to leave.
No.
You know, he's going to leave the farm to his kids. You know, and he's going to hang in no matter what. And this other couple, just equally valid, they just can't take it anymore.
Yep.
But to me, the song's still positive. You know.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I get really emotional singing it because I can feel for those people. I've never met them. I made them up, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I can really feel for those people, you know.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, it's not a bush ballad because even though lyrically it probably could have been, it's a country song. It's a story song.
And the vehicle, meaning the tune, and musically it's not.
No.
We took it to a country song, yeah.
I think, and that's something that that we do, like, you know what I'm talking about. There's something that we do as we're creating the song, we decide what pocket it fits in. Yeah, it's a special song for me,
Yeah.
you know.
You'd never hear him complaining. He'd say that's a waste of your time. But I wish his grandkids could have seen him when Scotty was still in his prime.
And then we've got track 13, When Scotty Was Still in His Prime.
Yeah, there again, jeez. This is the truth, right? I had a call. I did a show in Tamworth last year, and I had a call from Scotty's son. Scotty is a real person, and he said he'd been to my gig in Tamworth, and he rang me and said, you know, my old man's the kind of bloke they should write bush ballads about. That's what he said.
Yeah.
And he talked about him. Scotty at that stage had dementia. Just talking to him, he said, I just wish his grandkids could have seen him when he was at his best. You know, it was a line that I thought, I got to write this. You know, so I said, send me some stuff about him. And you remember, I had a page with just fragments of stuff. And then when we were writing it, we made it up as we went along, and we knew it was going to be a bush ballad, so we kept strictly to that form. Other people seem to find it difficult to stick to a rigid form. I love it. You know, I like that focus and stuff. I like the challenge of working around that. But we told Scotty's story, and we were making stuff up because we only had a few fragments.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, so this is this guy, we've never met him, we don't know much about him, but this is what we do know, and then we can expand on that. And I sent it to Scotty's son, and he said that even stuff we'd made up was just who he was.
Still there.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It was just we'd managed to tap into this guy's character. Anyway, sadly, Scotty died soon afterwards, and Troy rang me back and said, I just sent him a rough thing that we did on the phone. They wanted, he rang to say he was in palliative care, and they knew he was going, and then he rang me back and asked if they could play that thing at the funeral. So we got together and wrote and recorded the song. We'd already written it. We recorded the song. It wasn't the final version that's on the album, but close to it. And they played it at Scotty's funeral, which means a lot to me.
Yeah,
I never met
absolutely.
the guy, but we wrote the song, and at his funeral they played this song. So it's special. And as I say, it's a bush ballad. It was always intended to be a bush ballad. It's about a bloke who'd been a buck jumper, he'd been a shearer, he'd been a horse breeder, a trotter driver. Horses were his thing, but he'd been a miner for years. An ordinary working bloke. And that's what I love about bush ballads. You can write about ordinary people, and they're all ordinary Australian people. Like bush ballads are the most traditional form of country music, and they're also the most Australian. So
Yeah.
I'm attracted to that.
Yeah, and you know, when you say ordinary, you say that at the highest level.
Normal
They're famous
people.
at home, like they're
Yeah.
big people in their worlds. And
Yeah, I
and
remember when I won my first golden guitar for bush ballad with Manfred, and we'd been interviewed backstage, and we said, "Isn't it hilarious? Like Manfred's half German, half Latvian, and I'm a Pommy." You know? But you know, it's a migrant thing. You come to a country, become because I was 14 when I came to Australia, and you become Australian, and I think you become more Australian in some ways. You know, like you're kind of prouder of the place. You know? And I think that's why I love writing that kind of song.
Mostly I'm just winging this, there's no strategy or plan. I just do my best to be a man.
Well, this is sort of sad. We've got to the last track on the album, but it's a wonderful album, and we'll get to that in a minute. But number 14 is "To Be Your Man."
Yeah, "To Be a Man's" a Lynchburg song. It was written for to be a Lynchburg song, but it was my favourite one to sing. You know, it was just kind of fun, and I grabbed it because, like, we'd already recorded it as for a Lynchburg thing, but I grabbed it because it was the most Allan Caswell sounding Lynchburg song. You know what I mean? Yeah. And and it had Laurie playing some great harp, and it was just a song that I just wanted on the album because
it's got a good groove. It's groovy.
And it was one flavour that we still had left, so it's just add a bit of salt at the end.
It was. Yeah. Well, there it is. This is a really, really big part of history and country music here in Australia, I can tell you. It has the 1,000th song. As far as I know, and I'm happy to be corrected if you want to drop a line, never been seen before in the world. And you've got your manager that's looked into that, so we can pretty much say that unless someone can correct us.
Yeah, well, because I used to say arguably Australia's most recorded songwriter, and then Cameron said, "What's the arguably?" I said, "Well, there might be someone else." He said, "Well, until someone else comes along and says you're not, you are, you know."
So if you can prove that somebody's written more songs than this man here,
well, more recorded,
recorded, I'll actually pay for the USB to be sent out to you. Legend, great songwriter, great artist, and his new album, Long Goodbye. Get along and see some of his shows. He's touring The Really Long Goodbye. It's great to have you here today, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
Allan Caswell. Thanks,
see
mate.
Though you hardly know me, I'm your biggest fan. I'll just do my best to be your man.
There you go, Mads.
That was great.
You cut out any of the boring shit.